Good afternoon. Today we start this reading vlog for Dusk. 10 years ago, I feel like this is the worst book. Reading vlogs were very popular, which is fitting because this is one of the worst books that I've ever read. Yeah, and we will be suffering. So if you don't know, this is a YA-ish teenage vampire romance. Back from the days of Twilight being popular, Dusk is a vampire who had her vampire side sealed away. She dies, and then she's a vampire again. And she... Oh my god. Let me read you the blurb. Dusk. What more is there to say? It's all I could ever despise, and it's all a part of me. At the end of the day, they say that family is all that matters. They must not know who mine are. My family are nothing good to me. There's no question in this matter. They've left me a curse, a one-way ticket to death, and I can't even thank them for it. My enemies are far more powerful than me, and they crave something I don't know what they want, but I don't care. I've survived what my parents put me through, so I'll survive them. All I need is to know what they want from me, and then I can end this tiresome charade. In the darkness of night where I prowl, there must be the answers that I seek. There must be something other than danger and lingering death. There must be hope in some capacity, or I may well be doomed. The truth won't let us escape. I filmed that intro on the 12th. It's the 16th now. Do you see my pain? And that's not even going into these flashbacks. Why? Oh, this decision haunts me. If you're wondering about the bigot comment, the foster home where Dusk lives, the carers there aren't particularly caring, but if you asked her for like an example of something that they've done as to why she's calling them a bigot, she wouldn't give you one. She doesn't have one. It's just a really bad thing to call someone, so she's doing it. Dusk herself is also a mean girl. She's a bully. And there it is. No one saw my destiny, or no one cared to even try. She so woes me. Okay, here we go. It was the beginning of my end. It's what I despise the most, but what I'm most thankful for too. Cue clunky, unnecessary, terrible flashback. It was unfair. It shouldn't have happened. I was never the goody two-shoes, but I deserve better than that. Still, as far as refunds go, I don't know if I'd cash this one in. You said that. You literally just said that. Okay, so I'm going to show you a page and I'm going to ask you to pause the video because this is the most fun I've had with it. Like, it is a page of just pure bangers. Like, the most so bad it's funny kind of way. It's the 21st. I'm still here because the psychic damage is truly devastating. It's so funny, like now there's like a fortnight of travel from Knightsbridge and you don't get to Kingston Grove, but like 3 days. Okay, 3 days it is. This is only page 6 and it is going to get worse, but I really love the drunken classmates lounging around. Like, between the alcohol and other assorted like hooliganisms, you can't see that I'm doing like the finger quotes. You would think that the writer had never known or been a teenager, which is very impressive for a 14-year-old. And like, I'm laughing about the 14 thing, but that part was very much a 15. That was not how it was originally written. Um, this sneaking into Kingston Grove thing was very much a thing that was written at 15. Uh, and I think it was quite a late addition to this as well, which is just like. This is one of those things where it's like Dusk was written to be a mean girl bitch, but like, what the fuck? I am kind of shocked that, you know, so cruel as to go after someone's, I don't know what, financial state, but also like, would this be easier if I turned it into a drinking game? And if I did, how soon would I be dead? So I did actually say that I wasn't going to film another clip until chapter 2, but miracle of miracles, a thing has actually happened. But before that, though, like, so she's scrambling onto the roof and she breaks the gutter and she's like, I'll break him too. And it's, where did this come from? When was this? And then, like, when she's grabbed from behind, she's like, I won't get any of my classmates. When was that ever your motivation? Like, you hate the people at your foster home, but you specifically hate the carers. I'm really confused as to when this became a classmates thing. You are the mean girl, Dusk. This should be the other way around. Another thing is that I've actually found some writing that I genuinely like. This has been grabbed from behind, and this guy is coming forward and he's touching her and she doesn't like it. He's tilting her head back because he's going to drink her blood, and then it reads, he inches closer, but my eyes are on the stars. They're worlds away. They don't know pain. They don't know fear. And like, that is both like pretty writing and also like, for all of her bitching and bad attitude, this is like a moment of actual genuine human emotion and vulnerability, and that's really nice. And like, it doesn't last because, you know, like, she's a pure blood, but yeah, that's, I didn't know you had it in you. So chapter 1, she gets to the foster home and climbs the trellis, and you act. She goes into Jenny's room. Like, she's Jenny is there. She's sleeping. She's in Jenny's room. Like, I still cannot believe that this is happening here. But also, like, it is so brazen of you, Dusk, like, in the end of the bottom paragraph, to be like, the dead stay dead. Like, of all the shit you've pulled so far, and you suddenly, what the fuck? Oh god, thank god it's not Jenny. Chapter 1. Wow. Yeah. It didn't end where I thought it was gonna. I thought, you know, with Callan at the top of the stairs being like, Brennan, Marcus, who is this? Was going to be the end, because that is both kind of tensiony and a wee bit kind of cliffhangery, and also just, it's Callan. He should be the focus. Um, but it's not. He takes her upstairs to his private library, acting like the worst person in the world. Dusk is with him, and he's still acting like the worst person in the world. And he gives her books to read, and ends on like a quotation from the book, and I have not read it because like I have suffered enough. Pain. My life is pain. This reading vlog thing for Dusk, I had so many things that I wanted to say, like the book that she was reading. I just like page 28, and we verbatim get, I'm not like most girls. And you know, Dusk was meant to be a bitch and a mean girl, and I keep saying this, but like, I am ready to put this book through a shredder, and I'm not entirely sure that I'm not also ready to put the laptop through one as well, you know? And once again, I've got to ask, what the fuck? Whomst? Where has this. Who? When? How? What? Oh wow. I wonder if that's meant to be foreshadowing. Wow. You know, sometimes I wonder how much of this is purposeful and how much is just being an idiot. Like, is this trying to portray the fact that Dusk had like vampire senses enhanced beyond any human ability? I think she's trying to show that even when she had her vampire side sealed, or. But also, I want to shout out this bit because this is really useful for future drafts. They met when they were children, and so I think it would be really nice when they meet again if she just kind of, not entirely, but sort of lapsed into that kind of childishness with him. That scene, by the way, he was carrying her. This is the second time that Dusk passes out. In 2 chapters. Also, yes, that is chapter 3. The cringe is that bad. You know, it's funny because I could swear that Dusk has sweared. But yeah, way to undersell it. Also, like, why is this happening? Why did you do this? At the risk of losing people from reading the new version, he does kidnap her. It isn't gonna be this creepy. But like, I promise it's not as bad as it looks. I've shown you quite a bit, and I don't know how much you actually understand is happening because a lot of it has been bullshit. So, Dusk wakes up in a body bag before the start of the book. At the start of the book, she's on her way to Kingston Grove, her hometown, apparently to take revenge on her classmates. She gets accosted by 2 vampires who are going to drink her blood, and is called a pureblood. They get her to come back with them to their secret lair, and she finds out from a third, Callan, that she is effectively a vampire royalty. But her family are not good. I think the cringe, like, I just blocked that bit out entirely. Yeah, and now he's been very hot and cold with her, and now he has kidnapped her, drugged her in order to do it. She's woken up in like a steel hut, chained and handcuffed, and there is only a cardboard mattress. Yeah, he's not supposed to be the bad guy. Maybe Dusk, people who tell me what to do are bigots, should have paid attention in class, because that's not. I mean, like, I don't know. Is it funnier if she's a dum dum, or is it terrifying that I might have been a dum dum? Two serious points of note: Dusk is burning, and Catelyn just isn't burning under the sun, like, not healing fast, he's just not burning. Second point of note: when Dusk says calling down a curse that Charlene cast on him, that was like originally not meant to be anything other than me being interested in Wicca at the time, and my god, I'm really. There was a previous draft where, because I was like really into anime at the time, I can't fucking say it. I can't. So we're gonna hope that we don't continue to use Japanese forms of address in those flashbacks. Um, I mean, she isn't often right, but when she's right, she's right. Okay, we've gotten to a point where Dusk is complaining about Callan and his back and forthness, his being a jerk to her, being rude, being drugging and kidnapping her, and also the fact that he is nice to her and seems to genuinely care about her at times, and in the middle of her bitching, she calls him schizophrenic. I shouldn't have done that. I'm sorry. And now on the other side of the page, we have Callan telling Dusk, "You will understand when you revert to, what was it? You revert enough to your higher intelligence," which is not how intelligence works, and is kind of the opposite of the previous comments problem, which is a thing that Dusk would probably not bother. Not, she wouldn't have a problem saying that, but I did not need to specifically include that. Whereas this one is like a baked in problem um, of like the purebloods. Um, and like, this isn't necessarily a dig at, because I think differing like power levels isn't like an inherently bad thing. Like, it does kind of, even if it's like an icky world building thing, it can work on like a thematic level. But yeah. Anyway, this chapter sucks. We've passed the 50-page mark, and I'm cringing because I know where we are now and how tenuous this fucking. We have also had another comment about Callan, about him having a split personality. In Dusk also being like, "I don't want to be a vampire, I don't want to be evil," and then talking about killing people who want to die or who are already like sick and dying, and it's like, think those are lesser evils. Wow, what a piece of shit mentality to have. I mean, I guess at least she recognises that's at least putting your foot on the rung of this, I don't know, ladder of evil. Um, but it's still like a lesser evil to her. Also, we have started annotating, which is not something that I generally do, but it's probably useful. These are not about when I wrote this originally, they are exclusively for the rewrite. Well, I mean, I say exclusively. I'm pretty sure that I've mentioned that Carolyn is a love interest. And even though we're here at the headquarters, there's a lot of really good stuff here for him. It's the 3rd and the anniversary is the 5th. Everything lists publication date as the 5th. And I'm so far from having anything done. But it is kind of interesting, just as a little aside, that in terms of where we are in the writing currently, it's here. Give me a few paragraphs and a lot of like skipped paragraphs, and we're there. So I really don't know where this is, because like I said, she woke up in this place and there was talks of like a hut, and I don't think I ever wrote a transition. So that's just like a really weird continuity error in the book. But I'm pretty sure this was how I pictured it when I wrote it, that it was underground and it was all like stone. And that's the vibe that we're going for the rewrite. Despite like the entire rest of the book, I think this is probably one of the cringiest moments. Okay, so this, talking about Dusk being like a mean girl, I also thought it would be really cool, because 14, 15, if she were also like a delinquent, except I was a coward and I kept walking back on all the things she was doing. This is actually kind of adapted from another. So at one point we had a driver and he needed glasses. So it was actually a car that ran over the policeman's toes. And for some reason I thought this would be as funny. Old, probably mid-40s. Jesus Christ. And then it gets worse. I picked it up and it came to this page, 35. And even though this isn't how it was written, I really like this as kind of how the relationship should have been. Bit of banter. It's a bit cheeky, but there's like a fondness to it, and also like a genuine no, don't worry. And I really like that. I think that would have been a great dynamic if it actually, written it. But also, like, I can't stop thinking about it in the context of like Dusk saying, "You worry too much. I'm going to live," and then at the end he dies. If I'd been a better writer, I could have really, really hurt someone with that. She's in the vampire hunter's lair. People turned guns on her. including a kid who's like 13, and she's managed to, get a meeting with this head honcho guy, but she's being incredibly rude and fatphobic too. And she's like, I want you to kill vampires for me, which, is a very interesting proposal. And I still think so, even after all these years. Hate the execution, but it's not the worst idea I've had. The Hallows, she says, and don't ask me why she wants her family dead, because I don't understand that. They were vampire tyrants, but Dusk, you were like the playground equivalent. This isn't really a problem for you. Like, I know the thing is, you were a mean girl, and that was kind of the people that you had around you, and you're actually, deep down, if you had the choice, you would be a little bit nicer than that. There is an element of that at play, and I think there was back then as well. It was handled atrociously, but I think, but I don't understand why this is happening, why this is a thing. Also we have the I never imagined that my family would be dead thing, which is completely undermined and ruined. I don't know how sincere it was supposed to be, by like, I don't feel over 100 years old, and I certainly don't look at like. Watching Critical Role yesterday with my mom, I said there was this kid who kind of reminded me of like high school movies, the kid who gets picked up and dropped into a trash can. And like, trying to navigate this, I'm still insisting underground layer. She's, like cut herself and is leaving blood trails on the walls to try and find out where she is. So there's a fog that's like glooped to walk through, and this shadow turns into a person, and where this person touched her, there's black marks on her skin. It felt like death. And I don't remember this, and it doesn't tell me who it is. Although I think clearly she recognises, like, this is not Callan. And I made him so fucky, but I didn't make him this kind of fucky, I just said that Callan isn't that fucky, but he obviously knows what happened. And he just picks her back up when she comes staggering and bleeding out. But it's also really interesting because she's like, okay, I'm done. We're done with the people that we used to know. But that means I'm going to have to forget about Jenny, which has always been a thing. It's kind of a different thing now, I think. I don't know if that was my intention with the original. But we've also got to another thing, which it kind of slipped my mind, but I immediately remembered it when it came up. When Dusk passes out, sometimes she hears a voice, and I think it's supposed to be her mother. I'm pretty sure this doesn't get explained either, and it's making me so mad. Witches are a thing, but he is not a witch. So I don't. If this is like some vampire power that I did not bother to explain later, I'm going to be so mad. Ignoring the horrific "this vamp still has her bite" comment, which I think I must have thought was so cool at the time, Callan gives her a dress and a necklace, drags her downstairs and she's got like her hands on the door frame, but he still throws her out. And then he tells her the necklace secretes a liquid and you're not going to burn in the sun, which is absolutely horrific and also so funny. I have the worst sense of humour. So I think what this tells us is that I had already started watching The Vampire Diaries. Okay, so here it is, my hell, my personal hell. Worst part of which is the rant that I started in on about fangirls, which was not at all disguised from the fact that it was all my opinions. There was a really nice bit though where I was like, yesterday I saw Callan and I thought, just like a trick of the light, but I thought he looked like a little boy. And what does that mean? Did I know him before? And then she kind of waves it off with, well, if I don't remember, then he can't matter that much. I mean, that's not how amnesia works, Dusk. But whatever you have to tell yourself. Also, like a massive shout out to Jenny appearing again. This is chapter 5. I'm on like 10 or 11 and we haven't met Callan or the Hunters or Jenny. It's so overwrought that it's kind of cringe, but I really love My Worries Are Suddenly Gone. She always keeps my soul calm. They're so sweet. They really are just so sweet together. Okay, now this. Disregarding the severity of his reaction, just the choice to have this important scene told entirely in flashback is it would be disappointing if I weren't laughing. And that's where you're like, haha, fun playing curse. You think she's swearing and she's not. But yeah, Charlene is the friend who can curse you. Side note, there were like 3 friends. There was Claudia and Charlene, and I think it was just going to be C's, and then we added in Marie, if I remember correctly. And this is like a conversation where, and you know, they're talking about Wicca, so of course Charlene comes up, but on her own, the only friend Dusk ever talks about is Jenny. I need you to know that the first thing I said when she stepped into the room was, oh my god, what the fuck now? This is another thing, by the way, that as far as I can recall, is never explained. It's just a room under his house, or mansion, or whatever the fuck, big enough for giants. Make of it what you will. But that is an interesting comment though. At least with the fangirl hate, it's like, no, I can't be falling for him for his smile. I'm not like them, but you know, being like them. Of course, she's ended up putting lipstick on for his ball banquet bullshit thing. And now she's like, I think I look almost pretty. Well, you can really tell where I was when I fucking wrote this. Well, Dusk, I have some news for you. He's being contrary for contrary's sake, just, you know, enemy and aider and everything else. He doesn't really have a personality to himself, I would say. But I really like this part because this at least is a characterization, and it's one that, you know, works, and it's also the one that we're keeping. Fun fact about this is I didn't know about word search, so Clarissa, seeing that I'd written this, gave me like a heart attack, and there's a very good chance that there were 2 Clarissas at one point. This bit though, I am disowning this bit. Like, it's one thing to be like, I hear a woman's voice in my head sometimes. I think it's my mother, and then holding an actual conversation with that voice. You know, he does treat her really badly, but, and I know this isn't, this doesn't count to this draft, but going forward, I wonder if maybe we can just say that she is pretty bad at reading him. You know, it kind of kills me that we're almost at chapter 6 and we're only now learning that her eyes, what colour her eyes are, and also that I'd completely forgotten.
She wasn't happy at work.
No. Mediterranean food, isn't it? No?
I think it's Middle Eastern.
Middle Eastern.
It's almost midnight, and tomorrow being the anniversary, I'm so much farther behind than I thought I would be and than I wanted to be. We're only this far through the book, the published version of Dusk, and in the rewrite we're only. It's so bad. It's so bad. But I'm gonna stay up and I'm gonna finish reading the book, that vlog, and we'll see how the writing goes. Okay, so before I pass out, I just like, this is so funny to me. Also, I don't understand where the fuck any of this came from. The poof of like disappearing, the kidnapping, like it does put Callan's thing into perspective, the terrible way that he treats her. And a little bit. It's not like justifying it, but it's like he kidnapped her and he stole her away, and it's because these guys were also coming for her. But yeah, no, I don't understand what the fuck this is, or why this is also like a fucking giant's castle with doors that are like a dozen feet tall. Okay, no, I just. Did I introduce this fucking castle just to set it on fire in the same chapter? Land stars? What are land stars? Yes, the castle was, I think, and at the end of the chapter, Dusk just cries, I think. And then the next chapter, she wakes up in a hospital with an IV in her arm, and I think I I don't understand this. But anyway, she's going on to like this quaint little street full of shops, and has been like glomped on by Marie. And I was right, the friends are Charlene and Claudia. And I don't like have the brain to compute this right now. I knew that there was connectivity issues with Dusk going in. I was already aware of that. Like I vaguely remembered the castle and like Dusk being, I think, later on in this town, and like going underneath this kind of gothic-ish city. Yeah, I think I mentioned it. It was like architecturally like the Walter Scott monument, kind of gothic-ish. And yeah, it didn't quite, I could never quite make sense of how she got from A to B, but still this is something else. This is, yeah. So Marie, if I remember correctly, is supposed to be like a really kind of sweet girl who shouldn't have gotten involved with these people ever, who doesn't really think through what she says. And I mean, I think that could have worked, but so far, all the dialogue, I mean, none of the dialogue is good, but the dialogue between the girls is much worse than anything between the guys and Dusk, and I hate it. I do appreciate the attempt at foreshadowing, but that's so clumsy. So, Marie's purpose here is to kind of make Dusk insecure. She's like, oh, this girl who joined the friend group not long before I went missing, before I died, is kind of replacing me. Which is a really interesting thing and is something that I can work into the rewrite, but there's really no space for it here, which is amazing because basically the entire book is just Dusk bitching. Like that meme of like, this is the size of the book, and if we took down Dusk's bitching, it would be this size. But yeah, that's basically what that is. Which is a bit of a shame because I think that could be really interesting from a character perspective. But also, it's really funny that, you know, Marie comes up to Dusk and she's like, the friend group, you know, Marie, Claudia, Charlene. And then we go to the cafe and Dusk is like, oh, there's Marie and there's Charlene. And there's another girl, what's her name? Oh, I remember, it's Claudia. Like, you didn't already know that? When Marcus kidnapped her, there was kind of a warping of her kind of understanding of the world, like re-giving her amnesia, but also to kind of, because she'd met Marcus and Brennan and they were Callan's lackeys, and now Marcus is kind of playing it like, oh, we're lovers. And they needed to kind of make her not question that. And this bit here, she's both saying, you know, oh, like Marie, Claudia, Charlene, and also like that third person over there. I don't know that third person over there. And it's like she'll be saying like, oh, that's Charlene. She's not going to be happy to see I'm back. And then she's also like, oh, now I remember Charlene. Like, like it's always been kind of weird getting from A to Z, and I've said that many times before, but this is like the first time that I really fucked up with the editing. Like, these are from two different drafts and they've not been spliced together, they've just been, they don't fit, you know? Also, I just want to give myself like a shout out about this bit because I have, at least not so far, beaten this over the head. Okay, so the Charlene comment still stands, but I think actually that this is Jenny, the third friend that she didn't recognise, which is bullshit. Also, the bit highlighted in blue is apparently Charlene cursing her, which is, this I don't have the words for how much I hate it. I just hate everything about it. I hate how we're not actually experiencing this. I hate that this is just telling us stupid shit that we don't actually need to know. I hate how we don't actually get to know them. I hate that this is even here in the first place. I hate how dramatic it is. This isn't going to be in the rewrite. Like, they do still matter, but and it should not have been in this one either. The worst dialogue yet is from this random ass old man, Brecht, who shows up when our friends aren't being great. You know, says, don't lose your temper. because it's a bad thing to do. And she's like, yeah, I won't do that anymore. And then I think he just disappears forever. And the worst part is he reminds me of someone else who's going to show up. I think, and I think this is like a tarot thing. I don't know if you can tell with Charlene that this is what I was into at the time. The worst part is I think I know who's going to show up. Have I told you that yet that I wrote book 2 and like half of book 3? Oh, well, okay, so okay, so yeah, went straight to the old woman who's like, it's your first time. And if you do, then you'll never know, with like NEV apostrophe R. And oh my god, also ne, you know, like that Japanese thing, which is like the equivalent of in it. Yeah, she also has, oh, she also has that. I uh, favorite thing, absolute favorite thing is that because I'm doing this on my laptop, I have to copy and paste it. So this nightmare is not over. Oh god, the prophecy. Okay. You are being searched for by quite a number of people. Your past is hidden in shadows of doubt and deceit. A foe is seen as an ally, and an ally is a foe. There's danger in your wake. Caution must be taken, and certainty clings to you. Self doubt is nigh. A hidden power can tip the scale. No more can be said. And then she's like, oh, how is your friend Callan? In case you're wondering which side she's on. I don't know how the fuck she knows Callan. Just don't ask me any questions. Really going in on all the faux deep bullshit. And I can't stop looking at that progress bar at the side. There's so much to go. Honestly, hadn't really noticed it at the time, but reading this back, and that faux deep bit, and also like what once lived and thrived will fall to the next in line, the usurper, which is all about like the fucking sunset. I wrote like this in the beginning and it changed and I didn't even notice it changing, but I've definitely noticed that we're back to this bullshit. Also, yes, that means bitch Dusk is back and I am hating it. Social commentary, really? I'm so tired. I'm so tired. Absolutely hilarious that copying and pasting this turned other into like capital O other in the midst of all this fucking like social commentary. But then like, look at this bullshit. It's not the first time a friend hasn't been seen again. What? Where did this come from? And how can I make it stop? And now Too Cool for School Edgelord fucking Dusk is like, I'm gonna make a wish on a fucking tree. No, 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 no. Oh god, this isn't the fucking. Please tell me this isn't the fucking werewolves. God damn it. Oh fuck. It's not. That's worse. How is that worse? At Callan's bullshit banquet ball thing, we talked about lipstick. And her, oh, I guess I'm actually pretty. But, like, perfume. Who put perfume on a toddler? And if you're wondering, like, oh, no, no, we're not talking about Dusk seeing a memory that she didn't have, okay? That, no, no, we're just, it's not, no. Apollo's dodgeball or prophecy doesn't fucking exist, Callan, so shut the fuck up. That's not a thing for you. You know, I saw someone say, this isn't gonna make me go Joker, this is gonna make me go Thanos. I'll just read this all in one, but I'm gonna call a break because I cannot deal with this bullshit. We had a nice bit of, well, not nice, but they were getting on better, and if you took their dialogue out of context, you know, in some of the little snippets, you could get a really good relationship. And now we're just back to bitching at each other again. And the bit at the bottom you can see is highlighted because that's like the nicest thing that we've got here, which is one of those really bad flashback memory things. But yeah, they did know each other before. I'm not going to make excuses for him because he's literally just choked her, but like the fact that he's so bad to her is supposed to like there is supposed to be a point to that. Like later on, you know, drags her out the car and they're kind of arguing in the elevator, and he says very quietly, out of frustration, I think, I'm glad you have amnesia, and she wasn't supposed to hear it, and it's devastating for her because obviously this is a very distressing thing for her in general, and now it's being thrown in her face. But also, like, as an overall thing, taking like the perspective of neither character, he is actually right. And he's also kind of trying to protect her, which was not written. I'm not going to say it wasn't written well because, like, it was not written. I'm just going to say that it's done so badly that it's just not done at all. But I do think that's kind of interesting in terms of like the ways that I fucked up in writing it. I know what's obvious to a reader isn't always obvious to a character, but this is just amazing. Like, your friend is your enemy and your enemy is your friend, and this is just the most underwhelming realization. So I'm just going to tell you this bit because hopefully I don't need to, let's get it over with. So he takes her to a meeting. They ask, well, did you understand that? And she starts talking, except we don't. She starts talking and she like stuns everyone, except I don't bother to tell you what she said because I don't fucking know. All of which is to say that she's not allowed in the room and she's going to jump off of another fucking skyscraper. If you're wondering what, you know, like she's learned or what's happened, like why did I even get her back together with Callan for this short period of time to begin with? The answer is I don't fucking know. I don't know what the point of this was. I don't know what the point of any of it is. Okay, to be clear, when I say I didn't know what was said, I mean I didn't write down what Dusk said in response to, well, did you understand that? I also don't know what they said. I don't know what they're asking her about. So, 200 feet up with barbed wire actually puts it like 201 feet. She jumped again. She's doing really badly. Duh. And we've gotten to another. There were two or so other bits like this. To quote, I squeezed my eyes shut, but the memory is so clear. I was collapsed on the harsh, unforgiving ground. Now, and even back then, I tend to write in third person past tense. And with bits like this, you can really tell that I didn't want to write in present. And I don't know why, but it's just every single time it's both jarring because that's not really how you're supposed to write first person present tense. You're skipping over like an interesting thing and you're making things mysterious by being like, oh, she's like on the ground dragging herself across. But we don't know when she hit the ground and we don't know how she got to where she is. Like, we don't know where she is. It's mysterious for the sake of being mysterious. And like, you should just say, but it doesn't want to be obvious. Okay, here. Chapter 10 in the book. This is the last paragraph. If I was asked, then I'd have to say that I don't know who he is or was. Like, this is almost 2 full pages before we actually find out what has happened, and that's that she's killed fucking someone. She did not kill him. She dragged him onto the street and waited out of sight for the ambulance, which is really, I don't think it's still in the book. I think this was a previous draft, and I think this is one of the few good decisions I probably made with it. In a previous draft, there was a bit about her and Jenny, and their friends being so cool and so edgy. They were stealing alcohol, but don't worry, they don't actually drink it. And I understand that being so filled with hunger, especially because she's not really had to deal with a hunger, and with like the double amnesia thing, I don't quite know if she remembers that she's a vampire. She definitely knew that at the beginning of the book, but I don't know if she knows that now. So this is like her first feeding, and I understand that it could be traumatic, and I think you could definitely, drag it out this long just with like an inner monologue of torment, and you could do it well. Obviously this is not done well, but it keeps, I feel like this keeps coming up, this inability to like commit. Like you want to push it and you want to be like that edgelord edgy, but you can't actually like go there. There's a nice bit where it's like, I know this guy's name and I don't want to, even the slightest detail, the smallest detail about a person makes them real, and I can't therefore disassociate from what I've done. Unfortunately, she knows this person's name because she stole his wallet. And before like she can really actually feel guilty in the text, it's like, oh, there's a few $1,000 in it. I'm set. Yeah. Anyway, we also get Dusk wondering what city she's in. So the Gothic city I mentioned before, she calls it Rancarta Delphi. And I can tell you right now that at the time I called it Rancarta Delphi. But, potato potato. What? Why have we suddenly taken a veer into authoritarian dystopia? Oh my god, I was kind of kidding, but is this? Is this a dystopia? This guy named Seb came up to her with the worst dialogue. Like, oh, I can find you an inn. I don't know why. And now it's like, oh my god, she got mad at them and she killed them. I mean, I thought she killed the other guy too, so maybe they're not dead. And now she's being questioned by, is this a policeman? Because I don't know, boss, look at this, someone yells, kind of gives me more like criminal vibes. Before we can deal with anything that's just happened, we immediately go into a flashback, because why would you want to deal with the ramifications of what's just happened? This is a really weird one though, because I want to talk about this. I don't know if it makes sense, this memory of her mother coming in here. I don't know if it makes more sense if you don't know, or more sense if you do. Either way, it's a really weird placement, because this, her mother calling her downstairs, her arms folded across her chest, you know, as a kind of defensive kind of separation kind of thing. The person who takes her, I think, is Callan. This is when they wipe her memories. This is when they seal away her vampire side before abandoning her in the alley outside of the foster home. And I don't understand why it's coming in here. We will get past this chapter eventually, but no, we didn't need the police interlude. She was already thinking of going to Rancarta Delphi. She was thinking of like a story that Jenny told her when they were kids about like vampires and something called Olden in the city. So she's like, well, clearly something not normal is happening, so I'll go there. And she falls asleep on the train, and the voice has a conversation with her that basically amounts to, I left you when you were growing up, because all the best teachers don't hold your hand. You have to, you know, learn on your own. And so I'm gonna leave you alone again. And I'm also gonna make you forget me. And it's like, we didn't need any of these flashbacks. And now you're telling me you're not even sticking around? So here are some quotes from the end of the chapter where something of consequence actually happens, and of course it's played as coy. She's drawn to this monument, to this cross, and the light hits it in such a way as it illuminates names. You don't get to know what those names are, but I think, given the way it's written and from like what I can remember, I think it's her family. I think it has something to do with her family. And I'm annoyed again. This says, there's an astrological phenomena taking place right now. It comes once every 5,000 years. I remember Callan telling me it only affects special people. He lied. It affects vampires, and it's called the Petestria and Testria. So many of their scenes together involved them sniping at each other, and we could have actually just had this discussion instead of bringing this up after it's taken place. I mean, obviously that would never have happened because that wasn't what I was going to write, but you know, it could have been competently done. Anyway, shout out to me for writing this. At the beginning of the chapter, she steals blood from a hospital, and she at least acknowledges that this could kill someone. And she says she's doing this rather than killing people outright because she doesn't want to know if people are dying, but she at least acknowledges that people could, which I appreciate. And again, information coming after the fact. This place where she's in, it's not named. It's just a place. But Hantura Savante is a really weird name. And, you know, along with Rancarta Delphi, which clearly takes at least some inspiration from Greece, but also like Kingston Grove and Knightsbridge don't sound like towns or cities, they sound like streets. You know, I said this kind of thing happened once or twice, but it's happening more and more the longer the book goes on, which isn't good, but I don't understand why this is like becoming a thing. I'm going to endure my younger self ranting again, and it's about, oh, vampires nowadays have to be good, and that's making a mockery, and it's like, no, shut up, shut up, shut up. We do get an interesting thing, because when she got off the train to Rancarta Delphi, Well, first of all, she met Marcus, but we're going to skip over that because there's no reason he should have known she was there. She caught this like smell and she followed it down to the sewers. And I don't know how she knows this, but she knows it, so we're not going to question it. We're just. I don't care anymore. That this was the city of vampires under what's now Rancharted Delphi. And also, apparently, a few hundred years ago, hunters came and they wiped everyone and everything out, which is like a really interesting. Like, yeah, you can, I mentioned the Walter Scott Monument thing, and this is of course probably taking inspiration from Edinburgh, which has always like set my imagination on fire. But I really love the concept of like a vampire city underneath a city. Like, this is so bad, but that's still like lighting my brain up. Dusk's whole, they killed us, they massacred us, and now they've built the city over us and they're walking over us. It's actually really good and I really like that. And it would be a lot more effective if she didn't immediately go and steal an artifact. The voice in her head is back as well, and it's begging her not to do it, but of course she does anyway. And then the next chapter, she's just in a completely different place. I think it's a hotel, except she doesn't stay in the hotel. She literally parkours out over the roofs and has come to a pub. And if this is where I think it is, and we're page 71 out of 80, so it is. This means there's going to be a biker. It means she's going to then, jump off the bike, kicking at it, trying to, kill the guy on it. And then there's the showdown, which is not foreshadowed, is not set up, should not be happening. Now, I have to show you this because Mr. Cool Biker Dude is called Damien. And like I said earlier, I'd started watching The Vampire Diaries by this point. And yes, that really is the extent of my imagination. I really thought I could get through this chapter without stopping every 5 seconds, but wow. He takes her to a room and it's bloody. It's blood on the ceiling and floor and walls and furniture. It is all blood. Wow, he is a murderer. No. Oh. Yeah, the showdown. The big showdown. Chapter 13. Lucky 13. Wow, you're so smart, so deep. Humans couldn't see the worth of this trinket, which is just a lump of gold with a glow around it. Like, oh wow, I had to take it, and it's best that I took it than the human find it. You know the hunters who massacred the city were also human, right? You know that they knew what that was, and they didn't take it. Anyway, she's at a pond, and I don't know, I think she's going to throw it and herself into the water. I don't know what this is supposed to do. I don't know why she thinks this is the thing to do. She just knows. No explanation. We are also meant to believe that she took a notebook from her room before she left Jenny for the first time, before the amnesia kicked in a second time, before Marcus kidnapped her. She's been carrying around this notebook with her, even though she woke up in hospital, like in a nightgown with her possessions taken from her, but she took it and she still has it after all that time, even though she's never mentioned it. Anyway, the water is bubbling, and this is giving me H2O just said water vibes. At this point, I don't know, and I cannot even fathom wanting to ask. I've mentioned before, like, Gothic architecture, but I never went into more detail than that. And suddenly we have Second Empire style. And I need you to know the only reason I know what that is because that was my thing at the moment in The Sims. Also, like, I know he's a dick, and I know that I wrote him really, really badly, but I don't know, seeing this, I'm getting a wee bit upset. He could have been so good, and this, I know it still hurts a little bit, I guess. Like, that was my decision, and I'm not, gonna try and. But it's still like. Wow. And I'm just gonna leave this here. And you can read it if you want. I do admittedly find it really hard to feel bad for him because you didn't tell her anything and you could have prevented this. Read the rewrite. This is me plugging the rewrite. Um but I also really just like the line better than nothing wouldn't be killing you. Also, I think this is the only example of revelation after the fact that I like because this was actually set up. Yeah, your mother cast the steel. Sorry, your mother cast the seal, and I stole your memories. Reading it, if you're not me, I'm pretty sure that seeing her mother sad and then her being, pulled into someone's arms, I don't think you would have recognized it as Callan. But like there is setup and payoff, and it is the most effective. I didn't say it was good. I remember when I published this and a friend read it, and she was so shocked that it ended with his death, and I was so happy. I do find it really weird that they were allowed to talk that much, though. I feel like, Dusk is grieving, just kill her while she's distracted. Of course, that did not happen. I am not going to tell you who did it, though. I'm not going to tell you who did it. You can check out like the Dusk rewrite vlogs if you want, but A, we're not going to get that far, and B, I wouldn't tell you there either. So yeah, this is just me having a little bit of fun with it. That there is like a big, I don't know, there is a showdown, and it's very underwhelming, but I'm going to keep that to myself. And there you have it. And yeah, that prologue, no, that epilogue, that, I always like go to the epilogue for like an example of why this is so bad because I really like the epilogue, like Dusk, that's the end of the day, and it's when I lost everything, like my truest ally in love died for me. And obviously that's not what happened because the H2O just had water ritual where she dropped a lump of gold and the notebook into the water was around midnight. And then, yeah, so it was just that I thought it was so cool, you know, tie it in with her name, make it significant like that. But also, like, I was so enamored of like the midnight showdown in the ruined gothic house, and I wasn't going to compromise in either. Like it was going with what was cool over what was actually there, which summarizes like a lot of the problems with it.